14, the Glacier Station, which is another popular flag stop with a hiking trail. It's also a convenient staging area for our maintenance crews, who are constantly inspecting and maintaining the track. Now, folks, in a few moments, we'll make our second crossing over the Skagway River, and we'll have a great view of our entire train on our left, and a beautiful view of the valley on our right. Now, folks, once we clear this bridge, we'll begin our climb up the Highline section. We don't always have days like today here in Skyway, so it's great to have these mountains in full view. Off to your left and high above, you will see the Sawtooth Mountains, some of the highest mountains we'll see on our trip. The Sawtooths are a little over 7,000 feet in elevation. Now, folks, thousands of years ago, a massive glacier filled the valleys we see all around us. As the glacier flowed towards the ocean, its incredible weight shaped and smoothed the mountains and valleys beneath the ice. But it wasn't high enough to reach the peaks of the Sawtooths, so they appear much more jagged than the mountainsides at lower elevations. Now, folks, as we make our climb up the Highline section, we'll pass by what appear to be avalanches. That's because they are avalanches. But don't worry, our maintenance crews go up with helicopters. And while most of you are preoccupied with the views on our left, don't forget about the views on our right. We'll pass beneath several boxed canyons extending up the mountainsides. It is a view that is frequently missed. Get your cameras ready, folks! In a few moments, we'll be taking the wooden trestle bridge across Glacier Gorge. We're approximately 1,000 feet above the valley floor. And on our left side, we'll have a spectacular spectacular view of our entire train as it takes us into our first tunnel of the day. This tunnel is 250 feet in length, so be prepared for a few moments of darkness. Now, folks, if you are afraid of the dark, do what our engineer does and just shut your eyes. Prepared to get inspired. Coming up at milepost 17 is Inspiration Point. Now, folks, if you look over your left shoulder, you'll see a body of water in the distance. That's Skagway's harbor once again, now from a distance of about 12 miles. You'll hopefully still see those ships still in port today.
You can see all that way, or is he just kidding?
No, there's a couple. You can see a couple. I'm not supposed to know. I was going to say, I think we're pretty lucky today. Oh, yeah.
Others were shot or abandoned when they could no longer continue because it was far easier to replace the animal than it was to feed it. At milepost 17.5, it's known as Dead Horse Gulch, and it remains a poignant reminder in the tragic chapter in Gold Rush history. Appalled by the cruelty they witnessed, the same time in order to make that clearing. Just kidding. This bridge was retired in 1969 and replaced by the bridge ahead of us, which is the one we will be taking. And as we cross this ravine, we'll have a great parallel view of the steel cantilever before we enter our second tunnel of the day. This tunnel is nearly 3 times longer than the first, so be prepared for a longer period of darkness. With some differences, our train largely parallels the route this trail once took. With the summit and the Canadian border just a half a mile ahead, the two routes converged in this area. This trail was scarcely wider than the benches in our coach cars and was teeming with people and burden pack animals. And on this path, 2 continuous streams of travelers flowed. One marching north towards the summit in pursuit of distant riches, and the other descending south through the pass that they had just conquered. So why would they do this? It's because the goldfields were in a remote environment that could barely sustain a small population, let alone the influx of tens of thousands. Faced with the looming threat of mass starvation, the Canadian government intervened. No stampeder bound for the Klondike could cross the border without the necessary food and equipment. Weighing in at over 2,000 pounds, this was famously called the 1 ton of goods. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I can't carry 2,000 pounds on my back. So hiking all of those provisions was impossible to complete in a single trip, forcing the gold seekers to make dozens of trips along this trail to transport all their supplies up this pass. Behind its construction. Behind the flags is a small wooden cabin with a sign reading NWMP. This a replica station used by the Northwest Mounted Police. Day and night they stood guard through extreme wind, snow, and freezing temperatures to inspect every stampeder to ensure they had their 1 ton of goods. So folks, congratulations! We've arrived at the White Pass Summit. It would take months for many fortune seekers to bring their 1 ton of goods up to this point. And while they may have finally triumphed over the grueling White Pass Trail, in reality, their quest had only just begun. 20 more miles would take them to Lake Bennett. From there, they would build a raft, load it with their supplies, and set out on a journey to navigate 550 miles of interconnected lakes and rivers before finally arriving in Dawson City and the Klondike Goldfields. Now, folks, that flag spins to our left is Summit Lake. It's a glacial tarn or ribbon lake. That means it was gouged out of the bedrock by glacial erosion. With depths reaching around 200 feet, it doesn't get much wider than what we see here. And if you were about to ask, the answer is yes. Fish do live in this lake. Mostly Arctic grayling and lake trout. Now you're asking, well, how do fish get in this lake? Well, the answer is birds. A study found that trout eggs can survive being digested by ducks. Imagine coming into the world that way. Now, folks, we're about to take our loop in the track. So our train will be facing the opposite direction for our return trip to Skagway. Now, folks, at this point, you've all met our lovely roving guides, Hannah and John. The next time you see them, they will not be empty-handed. They'll have a special souvenir available for purchase. It's our exclusive White Bass and Yukon Route baseball style hat for $15. This hat's special because it's only sold on board the train and nowhere else. Not even our own gift shop. Now, folks, this is the important part. John and Hannah will only have enough time to come through your cars once, one time only. So please have your minds made up and your credit cards out, because they only accept credit card or tap to pay. So once again, folks, that's $15. They only have enough time to come through once, and they only accept credit card and tap to pay. Also, folks, the yellowish stuff on the rocks out there is reindeer moss. But it's not a moss, it's a lichen. Lichen is a symbiotic relationship between algae and fungus. And the way that I remind myself of that is Freddie Fungus and Allison Algae, they got married. And their marriage has been on the rocks ever since.
You don't need any more hats.
这绕大转弯就下去了。
Oh, at least. Maybe if we get to their store, they have a store in Skywan. Maybe they'll have it.
这里好看。
Folks, you has applied the brakes.
You're kind of what the brakes.
Store its hats in. It's made to store hats.
那可能开不了。